Earth, our home, is the third planet from the Sun. It is the only planet known to have an atmosphere containing free oxygen, oceans of liquid water on its surface, and of course, life. Today, we did a great adventure from the day the gods give us the fire. We'd walked in the moon, go down thousands of miles, to the heart of oceans, cured the deadly diseases, created AI, and built the terrible weapons to destroy ourselves. But, in this world, in our little shining star with warm and wonderful creatures, we all know there are some secrets and mysteries was never be solved. And here, there are the most mysterious ancient ruins on Earth. Tutankhamun was an Egyptian pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, ruled from 1332 to 1323 BC in the conventional chronology, during the period of Egyptian history known as the New Kingdom, or sometimes the New Empire period. He has, since his discovery, been colloquially referred to as King Tut. His original name, Tutankhamun, means living image of Aden, while Tutankhamun means living image of Amun. In hieroglyphs, the name Tutankhamun was typically written Amen Tut Ankh, because of a scribal custom that placed a divine name at the beginning of a phrase to show appropriate reverence. There are no surviving records of Tutankhamun's final days. What caused Tutankhamun's death has been the subject of considerable debate. Major studies have been conducted in an effort to establish the cause of death. There is some evidence, advanced by Harvard microbiologist Ralph Mitchell, that his burial may have been hurried. Mitchell reported that dark brown splotches on the decorated walls of Tutankhamun's burial chamber suggested that he had been entombed even before the paint had a chance to dry. In 1915, George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, the financial backer of the search for and the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb, in the Valley of the Kings, employed English archaeologist Howard Carter to explore it. After a systematic search, Carter discovered the actual tomb of Tutankhamun in November 19, 22. King Tutankhamun's mummy still rests in his tomb in the Valley of the Kings. On November 4, 2007, 85 years to the day after Carter's discovery, the 19-year-old pharaoh went on display in his underground tomb at Luxor, when the linen-wrapped mummy was removed from its golden sarcophagus to a climate-controlled glass box. The case was designed to prevent the heightened rate of decomposition caused by the humidity and warmth from tourists visiting the tomb. For many years, rumors of a curse of the pharaohs persisted, emphasizing the early death of some of those who had entered the tomb. Koh Ker is a remote archaeological site in northern Cambodia, about 120 kilometers away from Siem Reap, and the ancient site of Angkor. It is a very jungle-filled region that is sparsely populated. More than 180 sanctuaries were found in a protected area of 81 square kilometers. Only about 24 monuments can be visited by tourists, because most of the sanctuaries are hidden in the forest, and the whole area is not fully demoned. Koh carries the modern name for an important city of the Khmer Empire. In inscriptions the town is mentioned as Lingapura, City of Lingams, or Chok Gardayar, sometimes translated as City of Glans, sometimes as Iron Tree Forest. Under the reign of the kings Jayavarman IV and Harshavarman II, Koh Ker was briefly the capital of the whole empire, from 928 to 944 AD. Jayavarman IV forced an ambitious building program. An enormous water tank and about 40 temples were constructed under his rule. The most significant temple complex, a double sanctuary, Prasat Tom or Prang, follows a linear plan and not a concentric one, like most of the temples of the Khmer kings. Unparalleled is the 7-tiered and 36-meter-high pyramid, which most probably served as state temple of Jayavarman IV. Dendera Temple Complex is located about 2.5 kilometers southeast of Dendera, Egypt. It is one of the best preserved temple complexes in Egypt. The area was used as the sixth nome of Upper Egypt, south of Abydos. The all-overshadowing building in the complex is the main temple, namely Hathor Temple, historically called the Temple of Tentira. The temple has been modified on the same site starting as far back as the Middle Kingdom, and continuing right up until the time of the Roman Emperor, Trajan. The existing structure was built no later than the late Ptolemaic period. The temple, dedicated to Hathor, is one of the best preserved temples in all Egypt. Subsequent additions were added in Roman times. Depictions of Cleopatra VI which appear on temple walls are good examples of Ptolemaic Egyptian art. On the rear of the temple exterior is a carving of Cleopatra VII, Philopator, the popularly well-known Cleopatra, and her son, Ptolemy XV Philopator, Philometor Caesar, fathered by Julius Caesar. The sculptured Dendera Zodiac, or Dendera Zodiac, is a widely known relief found in a late Greco-Roman temple, containing images of Taurus, the bull, and the Libra, the balance. A sketch was made of it during the Napoleonic campaign in Egypt. In 1820, it was removed from the temple ceiling by French colonizers, and replaced with a fake. There is controversy as to whether they were granted permission by Egypt's ruler, Muhammad Ali Pasha, to do so, or whether they stole it. The real one is now in the Louvre. One of the most famous images from the Hathor Temple, at Dendera found in the crypt beneath its southern wall is Dendera Light. The Dendera Light images comprise 5 stone reliefs, 2 of which contain a pair of what fringe authors refer to as lights, in the Hathor Temple at the Dendera Temple Complex, located in Egypt. The view of Egyptologists is that the relief is a mythological depiction of a djed pillar and a lotus flower, spawning a snake within, representing aspects of Egyptian mythology. In contrast to this interpretation, there is a fringe science suggestion that it is actually a representation of an ancient Egyptian light bulb, made of the ancient aliens from thousands of years ago. The Kailash Temple is one of the largest rock-cut ancient Hindu temples located in Ellora, Maharashtra, India. A megalith carved out of one single rock, it is considered one of the most remarkable cave temples in India, because of its size, architecture, and sculptural treatment. The Kailasanath Temple is one of the 32 cave temples and monasteries, known collectively as the Ellora Caves. Its construction is generally attributed to the 8th century Rashtrakuta king Krishna I, in 756 to 773 CE. The temple architecture shows traces of Pallava and Chalukya styles. Thousands of years ago, the builders of the temples and caves of Ellora demonstrated extremely advanced construction and engineering skills. One of the greatest mysteries is how and when. But perhaps the even greater question is how ancient mankind managed to do this using only hammers, chisels, and picks, thousands of years ago. Archaeologists are said to have confirmed that over 400,000 tons of rock had to be scooped out, which would have taken not years, but centuries of human labor. Historians have no record of such a monstrous task, and they think that it was built in less than 18 years. Interestingly, the KAILASA is just one of the 32 monasteries and temples, which extend over an area of 2 kilometers. The temples were dug side by side in the basalt cliff at Ellora. The temple itself was built out of a single rock, 164 feet deep, 109 feet wide, and 98 feet high, making it one of the biggest monolithic structures on the planet, carved out of a single rock. Within the courtyard, there is a central shrine dedicated to Shiva, and an image of his Mount Nandi, the sacred bull. The central shrine housing the lingam features a flat-roofed mandapa supported by 16 pillars, and a Dravidian shikhara. The shrine, complete with pillars, windows, inner and outer rooms, gathering halls, and an enormous stone lingam at its heart, is carved with niches, plasters, windows as well as images of deities, mithunas, erotic male and female figures, and other figures. As is traditional in Shiva temples, Nandi sits on a porch in front of the central temple. The Nandi Mandapa and main Shiva temple are each about 7 meters high, and built on 2 stories. The lower stories of the Nandi Mandapa are both solid structures, decorated with elaborate illustrative carvings. The base of the temple has been carved to suggest that elephants are holding the structure aloft. A rock bridge connects the Nandi Mandapa to the porch of the temple. The base of the temple hall features scenes from Mahabharata and Ramayana. Tikal is the ruin of an ancient city, which was likely to have been called Yaxmutal, found in a rainforest in Guatemala. Ambrosio Tut, a gum sapper, reported the ruins to La Casita, a Guatemalan newspaper, which named the site Tikal. After the Berlin Academy of Sciences magazine republished the report in 1853, archaeologists and treasure hunters began visiting the forest. Today, tourism to the site may help protect the rainforest. It is one of the largest archaeological sites and urban centers of the pre-Columbian Maya civilization. It is located in the archaeological region of the Petén Basin, in what is now northern Guatemala. Tikal was the capital of a conquest state that became one of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient Maya. Though monumental architecture at the site dates back as far as the 4th century BC, Tikal reached its apogee during the Classic period, from 200 to 900 AD. During this time, the city dominated much of the Maya region politically, economically, and militarily, while interacting with areas throughout Mesoamerica, such as the great metropolis of Teotihuacan in the distant Valley of Mexico. There is evidence that Tikal was conquered by Teotihuacan in the 4th century AD. Following the end of the late Classic period, no new major monuments were built at Tikal, and there is evidence that elite palaces were burned. These events were coupled with a gradual population decline, culminating with the site's abandonment by the end of the 10th century. There are thousands of ancient structures at Tikal, and only a fraction of these have been excavated, after decades of archaeological work. The most prominent surviving buildings include 6 very large pyramids, labeled temples 1 to 6, each of which support a temple structure on their summits. Some of these pyramids are over 60 meters high. They were numbered sequentially during the early survey of the site. It is estimated that each of these major temples could have been built in as little as 2 years.